Hey guys, Adam Savage here in my cave. Welcome to part 2 of the spacesuit build. In case you missed part 1, this build was possible with support from our friends at G4, who approached me to build something cool in celebration of the network's return. I suggested a pair of spacesuits and they loved the idea. Now, in this we cover some of the construction of the backpack and stuff, but the most interesting thing I think that happens in this video is you get to see me come to a kind of a new conclusion about the type of designer I am. And that's interesting because I don't often think of myself as a designer. And in this video, I realize that I have to build something in order to design it. I can't just draw it and then execute what I've drawn. It is a much more organic process for me, and now you get to witness that. One of my favorite descriptors of a spacesuit is that it is an anthropomorphic spaceship. That is, a spaceship that has been built in the exact shape of a human being. And no spacesuit yet built demonstrates that more than the rear entry suit. Now, this is a design that NASA is currently using. The Russians have been using it for a long time. But just like a spaceship, it's got a door. And that is what I'm working on next. The door to the spacesuit, which is also the backpack. This requires some big, fat, beefy hinges in order to make sure that it lines up every time you close it. It requires some closure. Frankly, being the one wearing this, I want the closure to be something that I can open while wearing the suit, because I don't want to, just have an aversion to being bolted into a costume. It's like an Iron Maiden. So yes, that is what I am doing today. I am making all the mechanical parts of the backpack, and that's going to be like six pieces of plywood and a bunch of stringers. I think I'm done with fiberglass. I think all the rest of the construction is just plywood space frame construction. It's going to look pretty neat. Well, and then we're going to cover it with fabric. But yeah, mechanical backpack. Perfect. 4 pieces of high density Baltic birch ply is a hard thing to ask of a bandsaw, and my big fat resawing blade is getting a little tired, but I'm also really excited that it turns out that plywood and fiberglass are all the construction materials for this. Like, there's nothing super exotic about it. In fact, all the plywood for the huts is like, it's bullshit hardware store plywood. It's like the 5-ply, the stuff I would not even make a gift shelf out of that stuff. But it's perfect when you give it with fiberglass. This is my good stash of the really pretty ply. Yeah, look at that. I have yet to meet the jigsaw that could do a cut like this. You may have a favorite blade, that is fine. You may think that it's easy, that is also fine. I do not have the same experience. This piece of hardware store aluminum is what will wrap around my frame opening, and this is the profile it will wrap around. I am going to need to attach it using pop rivets around the perimeter of its, how do I say this? Basically, I'm going to have to do some pre-drilling of the aluminum in order to make it easy to install. I don't want to drill it after I've bent it. That's a pain in the ass. So I'm going to pre-drill my aluminum. I'm then going to bend it to this form, 2 of them. And then I'm, going to start making, I have 2 more pieces of wood to cut out, but those get made after I've put the surround on, and we'll be good. Let's talk next steps. I said I was going to work on the backpack, and I've been cutting out a lot of rings, and I've got the beginnings of the backpack here, but I can't attach it just yet. But here's how this works. I cut out 4 rings, 2 in 1/4 inch and 2 in 1/2 inch. And the 1/4 inch rings are a framework to hold the this aluminum all the way around the perimeter. Pop riveting into 1/4 inch plywood with 1/8 inch pop rivets, it's not a great attachment technique. It's not very strong. But I'm getting an extra amount of strength over the fact that I close this ring. And so that the ring and the wood are being held together by two forces. One is the ring itself, and then the other is the combined strength of all the pop rivets. So again, just in the same way that sewing and the T50 staples are like a distributed load, the pop rivets are doing the same. And they're going to get extra support because once I mount this, it's going to get screws around here. Those will help guide your eye. So there'll be a set of screws all the way around here, probably also every 3 inches. And then I said I cut 2 rings out of 1/2 inch. And if you were wondering why, here is the reason. Funk. I gotta tell you, that makes me so happy that that works. I wasn't quite positive it would. So that is the interior of the refrigerator door that is this dealy bob. So once I get the door, then I can build the backpack onto the door. But I have to get the door and its hinges right first. And lining up this piece with these is a key part of holding the whole door together. So the next part I cut out will be a ring that's wider than this and has 2 hinge flanges here and 2 attachment flanges here. So the hinge flanges will allow this. I can't just hinge it here because I've got this, the parallelogram doesn't work. I have to hinge out here, which, right. I bought some fun gear to do the hinge pin with. So the hinge pins will drop in here, and I'll have a big piece of Delrin sticking out here, and then the door itself will have a piece of Delrin sticking out that way. Drill them, right, and then this whole thing opens. I know, I've talked about the most abstract thing possible without any visual aids. Can you follow me? So we've been covering the bearings, and obviously the bearings help your arms move inside the suit. But this cage arrangement is worth talking about. This is what Brett is working on, and it's in the fabrication of things. Whenever you have multiples, your time disappears in a hurry because there's 48 of these things, which means there's like 96 connectors. And every time you're doing something like that, if it takes 1 minute, that's like 2+ hours added to your day. And boy, that stuff can add up in a hurry. So it takes, like Brett is choosing all of these really efficient manufacturing techniques from rivets and spacers to make this go in get this done in a reasonable period of time. But I wanted to describe why this shoulder cage exists because it's really neat. Picture a raft on a pool, and then picture inflating it and then trying to bend it. I think you can picture in your head that it's hard to bend. And the reason that it's hard to bend is when you make the kink in it and you start to bend it, the reason it's resisting you is because in the bending of it, you are making the amount of space inside the air mattress smaller. This is the key problem with wearing a spacesuit, is that in the early Mercury suits and the Gemini suits, if you bent your arm, you were actually literally working against a 4.5 pound per square inch balloon, which is a hell of a lot of pressure. The astronauts have to work out every single day. It's really taxing to wear a spacesuit. Even now, it is really taxing. And so, the design of the interior of the spacesuits has all of this internal caging so that as the astronaut moves their arm, the volume inside the suit stays constant. This cage here is all about eliminating that kink that I described in an air mattress at the beginning. And it's about making sure the astronaut can move their arms easily. This will not be something that we need to do because we're not pressurizing these suits, but it is such a key aspect of the look, that internal structure that you can sense as the astronauts move around, which is why we're replicating it. Even in styrene, it's going to deliver the kind of visual look that we like. Brett, I'll bet you're dying to be done with these.
It's starting to grate.
All right, it's time for some soft part fitting. I am going to get my arm through here so Christine can measure out a forearm. There we go.
I like that elbow.
I like this distance. Feels perfect.
Good.
There's always this extra wrist that, like, the rental costumes of spacesuits don't get right.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Oh. Okay, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
This is very exciting. Oh, right, yeah. So there is that whole thing about raising your arm. Okay, yeah, I can still reach back here.
I'm going to move the elbow up a little bit. Good. Just so that you have a little bit more ease right here. So.
It feels great.
Good.
It feels really, really terrific.
I want to move this seam, and then your hard elbow is right here, which is where this seam was, what I thought it would be. Okay, cool.
That's correct. This is the hinge. It opens like that. Look at that. Nicely done. I am pleased. xEMU work proceeds apace, and it's going really well. This is the door. It fits in the door frame really nicely, but now it's time for me to build up from here and make the hollow form that will form the backpack, the PLSS, P-L-S-S, the Portable Life Support System. And I've decided to do this with dowels. So what I did last night after you guys all left is I tacked these two pieces together. I marked out holes about every 3 inches, and then I drilled them all. So now they're perfectly aligned. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put dowels all the way around here, and then I'm going to turn it over and hopefully be able to sock all the dowels into here. That sound, that's what I'm looking for. When sound quality changes, I know I've gotten to the leather. Ah, nice. One thing you should know about dowels is that dowels are all lying. A 1/4 inch dowel, it's never exactly 1/4 inch. If you really need 1/4 inch doweling, there's probably places you can order highly accurate 1/4 inch doweling, but not from the hardware store. What you'll get there is going to be like 20, 30 thousandths over or under. And it's pretty inconsistent. So these holes that I'm tapping into are 3/16. They're 0.1875. These dowels are about 200 thou. So they're about 15 thou over, 25 thou over what they should be, which gives me the perfect press fit. All right. All right. That's better. Yep. All right. That is really exciting. That's just great. I love a structure that holds itself together without glue. Oh, I'm not getting tired of that feeling. So I did a few things here. I clad it in foam PVC. It's really nice and light. Really, I think this weighs maybe 1.5 pounds. That's great. And I gave the mating surface that marries into this a little bit of I gave it a 1/4 inch round using a router. Just makes it a little easier to slip in. Brett is making the hinges, and those will go here. There'll be a hinge and a block and a block, and then we'll be dropping in a quick release pin. Funk. Oh, it's gonna be like a professional thing. Quick release pin. There and there. And I have an idea floating in my head for the closure. Because in the real suits, what I'm sort of noticing is that the astronaut has the ability to open the suit themselves. Like, I'd be able to reach my hand up here and grab around here and pull a lever. And maybe it's here. Maybe I can reach over here. So I'm kind of playing around in my head with how this closure is going to work. It might just be that there's a Delrin knuckle that comes in here and a spring-loaded bar that like catches a tooth. That is not a problem I have to solve for a while in this build. Right now we're just getting the form out. Once we've got the form, then we can start to deal with how the forms connect together. Once we get them connected together, then we deal how they actually work together. It's a whole, yeah, you got to prioritize. You can't be solving weird problems later that rely on things that you haven't solved yet. But dude, as I'm looking at this, it looks so cool. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rivet in a Sintra piece back here. And I think it's just going to be 1/8 inch Sintra, which should be plenty strong enough to hold on to all my stuff. Plus I can glue things to it, which I love, and keep this really lightweight. I'm now in the stage where at the end of every day I'm taking pictures and I'm just going home and I'm kind of like mooning over the pictures every night. That means I'm in the sluice. It's like my favorite part of the build. 17 3/4 by 25 3/4. 17 3/4 by 25 3/4. Oh, I guess I can cut those two together. Yeah. Oddly satisfying. If it looks like I'm being a little cavalier with the overall measurements, it's because I am. This whole thing is getting covered with cloth, so I really don't need to worry about this corner relief right here. It's mostly about the structure. All right, so it's time for some riveting. Oh, this is going to be riveting. I like how this is shaping up. I'm moving forward. Oh, pretty. So I've been wondering, oh, maybe I can just mount these hard on both sides of the equation and then I can put it on. But that's not how they get put on in any of the testing footage I've seen from NASA. what happens is the straps go out the neck hole, the person gets in, and then the straps are fed over and someone clips them in from the back. Now the only reason I'm not doing that right now is because I only have one of these big fatty 2-inch clips. And I'm lazy-ish right now. So I'm going to get some more of these, and I'm going to do that exact system. I'm going to have a second leg down here, so it's adjustable, and that's what it needs to be. Yeah. Okay. Up until now, everything we've been doing on the spacesuits has been in-house. We've been fabricating everything we need, from the huts to the arm cages to the bits of plastic and wood that are going to make the suit work. But this part in here was farmed out to a company in Southern California, and they blow molded some visors for us. I'm going to pre-game this because here's what I'm looking for. The visors of the Artemis suit, what you can frequently see is that there's a double visor. And that's for safety. There's an exterior that's the frangible, like something can bump into it and it doesn't necessarily compromise the atmosphere of the astronaut. And there's a second one that is creating the pressure bubble. I have nested visors in here, but I'm also not positive that the interior visor is big enough for my head. So I have options. If I feel like the smaller one isn't big enough, then I'll just go with the larger one. I'll go with the single visor. It's fine. But I've gone off of NASA's own measurements as to the ellipse that is these visors. It's a 13 by 11 ellipse. They have it at 6 3/4 inches high. I went to 7 to give myself just a little more room. And even this is less than the Artemis suit you've probably seen. The red, white, and blue one has a way huge helmet. So much so that apparently some of the astronauts had the helmet was interfering with their ability to do stuff with their hands. Yeah. Okay, I think that's enough talk. Let's open these visors and see how we did. Oh, these are, I feel like these are even prettier than I was hoping. I don't know why I was expecting to be disappointed. Dude, I cannot believe oh, wow. What the, no? Huh. That's problematical. Well, we turned off the cameras while I made a couple of phone calls. The vendor messed up. Yeah, they messed up. They were supposed to give me 2 nested domes, this size and one that went over it, and instead they gave me this size and one that went under it. And so the 3 under visors they're useless to me. But these are still useful. And I am attempting to figure out exactly how they're going to fit here. Because that's too bulbous. That's too bulbous. So how do I cut this down? Well, I have a plan. I've got my template here, which is what I use to draw this for the vendor and what they use to blow mold this. I also have this artifact I didn't know I was going to get, which is this comes down, and I don't want that. I think that they blew it taller than I wanted so that I can cut to that. But in fact, what I realized is I don't think I'm actually going to cut straight across the bottom. I think I'm actually going to cut on a slight angle, and here's why. My head peeks out here. My chin isn't coming out that far out here. So I think what I want to do is cut this so that it comes in like this a little bit. But again, in order to get a nice straight line, I can't do it on the suit. I'm going to have to cut effectively a template hole out of this piece of foam core in order to mark this, and then I'm going to cut it with an air saw. I have 3 of these. If you have 2 mission critical visors that you need, buy 3 and put 3 into your budget. So you have one to work with and experiment on and get the proportions right without it being like the only one that you have. That is a lesson I have learned many times the hard way. If you need 5 screws, put 6 in your pocket. So I'm going to make some drawings here and on this plate and cut it out, and then I'm going to set it up here until I feel like I've got something I like, and then I'm going to mark it and cut it. And hopefully that will nail this visor, and I'll just pull out one of the other 2 and do the same to that. And when the vendor sends the other 2 over visors, I can literally put those over these and mark them. So that should be pretty straightforward. Here's hoping. Yeah, see, if I do that, see that? That's what I'm thinking. See, there, there's a look. And it's really, really subtle. But in only one of the pictures of an xEMU do I see a look of something that looks like an explorer's armor, which is what all spacesuits look like to me. And when this is too bulbous, it doesn't look like that. It looks like a prototype, which is what it is. But I want to end up dressing this like it's a piece of used moon hardware, which means I'm going to beat the crap out of it. And I specifically want a specific look for the helmet. And to be honest, I think that's it. So I'm going to mark this and trim it and try it out. Center that, yeah. Let's see here. 4 inches. So I'm making a cut now, and I'm just calling it cut. And I'm giving myself the note that this is on the table and this is 4 inches off the ground. That'll get me within a very small percentage of my cut. Great. The reason I'm carefully approaching this is because with acrylic, you can just hit it, you can look at it the wrong way sometimes, it'll just shatter into a million pieces. Ask me how I know. Wait a second, maybe this is how I want to do it. I'm provisionally very pleased with how the visor looks. I actually even like that it's not bilaterally symmetrical, that it's fatter up here, because that's what my head does that. So Brett, I'm gonna wanna, I have temporarily attached the hinge frame with a couple of screws on each side. This obviously has no attachment, so I think maybe I'll just ask you to like throw a piece of tape on either side, just like right here and like right there.
Okay.
Just to hold it on, and maybe one right up there.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna, yeah, I think it's time for a suit up attempt. Hey, let's talk about how this will go when I go to put this on. I've ordered a ladder that is 43 inches high. That's this height. And the ladder has a bar up here. So what we'll do is we'll push this ladder over to the suit. I'll climb it and hold on to the thing and lower myself in. Yeah. Also, there's, oh, right, there's that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, whoop.
If you're floating in space, it'd be much easier.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you can cut me in. That's great. Oh yeah, and so now you can put the backpack on. It's gonna get foggy in here in a heartbeat. But I tell you, from a face standpoint, I feel, oh,
This is me excited. Ooh, humming along. Okay, thank you, sir. I can still reach back here. That's great. Let's see, I can't touch the floor. I didn't get the geometry of this right. You're just gonna have to go with that one. I can't get on the floor the way yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah, I can't quite get back there, but that's fine, I don't need to. It's not like I need to wipe myself in space. No, I'm pooping in my pants right now because it's space pants. Sorry, maximum absorbency garment, the mag. Oh, dude, it feels real. It feels like I'm... All right, let's get me out of here. It's getting hot in a hurry. Cooling system is going to be really important.
A lot of compressed air.
I'm so excited. That is freaking awesome. It's definitely a weight. It's definitely, I can feel the weight. I should start hiking in the mornings with like a 40-pound pack. I did that for a long time. I haven't done it in a long time, but like that's exactly the kind of training that I need. Oh. It is only, we are exactly 1 week into the construction. Yeah, we're exactly a week in. I'm really happy with where we are. There's still a crap ton of little details to refine. You can just, it's an intense build, but it's going really smoothly. And aside from just a little bit of a contretemps with those guys, it shouldn't be a problem. With the build this complex, sometimes you find yourself having to take care of things you thought were going to be later in the build. And that's what's happening right now. I tested wearing this suit yesterday, and like the fitment is great, but it's an enclosed space. I put my head in here and we close the door, and that visor fogs up almost instantaneously. And it gets hot instantly, I can't see. It's not like I start to panic, but it doesn't make test fitting this fun. And it also makes it feel like there's a limited amount of time. And I don't like that. I want to be able to put it on and really like talk to the team about it and figure stuff out. So way earlier than I thought, it's time to work out the air cooling to keep the visor from getting foggy. And that's where these guys come into play. I bought these 2 squirrel cage fans. Bang for your buck in terms of moving air. Squirrel cage fans are more efficient than an inline propeller fan. I know there's a word for it, I can't think of it right now. In my suit specifically, I am going to add the refrigeration unit that Kip Bradford and I built here on Tested low many months ago. There's a link in the comments below. But what we came up with was a refrigerator this big. Yeah. And it's got a water reservoir, but I don't really have to worry about it. But if I'm going to put these fans in, I have to route them around this thing. In the past, I would tend to start to build an infrastructure into this backpack and then install these things. I no longer want to build things that way. I want to build things that are modular and plug in here. So I'm going to make a cassette that is the air system, and I'll make a pair of them, and they will accommodate the refrigeration unit however I decide to house it. And there's plenty of extra room for what did I say? The water unit, a liquid unit. And sorry, just to be fully clear, this is a refrigerator that will take water circulating through a suit that I'm wearing on my body, circulate it through a heat exchange here to cool it down, and then put it back into my body. This is not far off from what actual NASA astronauts in testing are using, especially with the LCVG, the liquid cooling and ventilation garment. So yeah, we're getting real. Time to design a blowing air cassette for my backpacks. Here we go. Okay, I have built a pair of air boxes. These will be in the backpack about at this level, coming off and blowing air this way past my head. So I have temporarily taped 2 squirrel cage fans in here. Look, it's not a super ideal thing because you don't want air to make corners, but space is at a premium in here. I may find out other ways to do this, but for right now, what I am planning is this. So I've got my power supply hooked up. I'm going to feed 12 volts into here. Let's do it. Running and running. Ooh. That's highly respectable. I dig that. Okay. Look, even if I end up going with more powerful fans, this is still like I've built a useful thing. So I'm happy with that. Feels great. Okay. Now, I've got to get it in the backpack. So I got to build some long ducts. So first up, it's actually at an angle like that. It's at about 20 degrees. The primary components all seem to be playing nicely together. Got the air distribution box up here, the fans that go down here, the refrigeration unit, if I choose to use it for this, goes here. And so now I'm about to build a cassette of the air cooling system. And so that is going to be a box that holds these two and then pulls air from underneath here, and then 2 ducts that distribute it, and probably a piece of nice aircraft ply holding it all together. And that way I'd literally be able to just like bolt it in here and then bolt this to it. And I like using the thin aircraft ply for this because the back of this is just foam PVC, and I don't want to hang too much weight on it because it will droop, it will creep. But this 20-degree angle actually ends up being almost vertical when the suit's being worn and blowing air right across the top of my head. That's the theory. I have to complete this in order to test that theory out. Let's go. Oh, hang on. Hi. The fan system is now, the 2 fan units are complete. So these are computer fans. They draw air in through the middle of their squirrel cage, both of which face this tube. Lots of rounded edges to keep the air from getting bogged up. It's a real thing. So now this will live here. I will have I'll have a cutout in the bottom that matches this. That'll go lower. And then this lives up here. Yeah. And all I need now is to make some ducts that go from here to here, which is not quite as simple as it looks, but yeah. And then this guy has to somehow fit in here. Yeah, like it's tight, man. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, it's going great. Okay, so I really hope I get enough air out of this. Seriously, I really do. I feel a little tense, and there's no reason for it. Everything's going fine, but what I want is to put one of these on by the end of the day, which is like 90 minutes away, and try out the air. it's time. It's time to try out my air system. Here, let's give you a view of it. Oh, it worked out. It worked out in every way. Will you hold that for a second? Just hold just like that. It fits the cooling unit. Yeah. And what we have here is 2 fans sucking air in from the bottom, pushing it through 4 hoses through this, and it creates a nice breeze right across the top of this. And this is the thing about domes. Bucky Fuller figured this out with the geodesic dome, is that you get these really, really neat convection currents in a dome. So this is how NASA cools their helmets. They run air over the top and down the front, and hopefully that will work for me. Okay. Okay, you got it?
Yep.
Okay, turn on the fan. It's just, yep, and close it. Here we go. Aha. Yes, it's keeping it from being fogged up, and it's making it bearable in here, and I know that it makes this sound so shite for you. It's really pretty back heavy. I'm actually gonna need probably to put like a little plate of steel up here to balance it. I mean, if I have the cooling unit, I'll be like this. All right, let's see if it clears that. It does. One thing I am noticing is my head's banging into it back here, so I'll need to make a little scoop out of my air distributor. This guy's coming out a little too far, so I'll need to create some relief there. I probably don't need to yell. You can probably hear me just fine. Okay. It is really neat, all of a sudden being fairly self-contained and not... Oh, yeah. And I can still reach. Yep, I can still reach. Oh. Yeah, I definitely... Oh, you know what? I also may need some padding up front here. That's probably better than... Yeah. Wow. There's so much interesting geometry to getting one of these on your body. And I'm never wearing it in 0G. Well, I'm never wearing it in 0G. Oh, yeah. I'm really pleased. This is a successful test. I think you could just stop right there. Okay, it's time to take a stand. Specifically the stand the suit is on. And I'm going to talk about putting this suit on a stand. And it might not seem like it's a completely intrinsic step to the build, a proper stand for the suit, but I'm going to make the case for why it's absolutely vital to the construction and to the aestheticization and ideation of the suit. First and foremost, there's the practical aspect of you can't get into this suit without it being on a stand. There's just no way. You can't just pull it on like any other of my spacesuits. It needs to be mounted here. You need to climb up on steps and lower yourself in. And we're planning to do that. But in addition to that functionality, this is like my first, I threw this together in an hour just to get this up, but also to wrap my head around the problem of the stand, because this doesn't nearly suffice. And the main reason it doesn't is because while I've made it strong enough to hold this up, I can't see anything. Like everything disappears below here. So what do I do? What do I do? Do I like cut away this like this and then cut? No, actually, I think it requires a totally different structure of stand. And properly built, this structure will allow me to see the suit for what it is, right? Like the stand will disappear. That's the goal, to build a stand that you don't easily see. Because in order to like fully aestheticize this suit, I need to have it sitting in a stand and I need to be able to look at it and understand it. In effect, I'm like pre-building its mannequin, except it's holding it from the outside. I am going to use 1-inch plywood, which is one of my favorite building materials for this kind of thing. It's like super stable, it's super strong, it doesn't twist very much at all. So with minimal triangulation, I can get long cantilevered throws that are highly strong. That's all ideal. I am going to put it up on wheels because the further we go with these, the more they're going to have to move around the shop and get out of our way, and like this is already becoming a problem. Oh, also, it needs to extend backwards because as soon as I open this, the whole thing is just barely, yeah, it's like, it doesn't like that. So what I'm thinking is 1-inch ply, like these long fins that come down and then go out down here to create like 2 struts here past the backside and really allow me to see this whole suit as one thing. And then it's also going to go up on these 2-inch easy rolling furniture casters, which I've just discovered and have fallen in love with. And I'm going to lower it by 2 inches. The whole goal is to be able to get in this suit, like get yourself all strapped in and everything, and then stand up out of the rack and then like back up and you're good. And then we can just roll it away. That's the dream. That's what I'm going to build right now. 19 by 39. I mean, I may be able to, actually, I should probably be able to do this mostly on the bandsaw. So what have we got here? I've got 19, even 20. Yeah, that's far back enough that it's past the center of gravity, even with that open. Wait, right, so if this is, right, so it's 39 inches tall. Yeah, I may be able to bunch these up and do 2 at a time. I always make a second mark whenever I'm doing this kind of thing, even if I'm using a T-square, because it allows me to just check and make sure my T-square is square, because if you make the assumption that all the T-squares you encounter are square, you will be wrong. I guess if this is totally not strong enough, I can redo it, but I think it will be. Given that I use this plywood to hold up a couple 100 pounds of lathe chucks, and it's been fantastic, I'm feeling pretty good about everything. Okay, so that's the top, and that's the top, and that's the top of one, and that's the top of another. Good. And so then this comes down. Same with this. So yeah, I'm designing both for strength, but also for efficiency of packing, because I'm gonna get to use as much of all of this wood as I can. Okay, so that's the top of that one, that's the bottom of that one. This is the top of this one, and that's the bottom of this one. So this is, again, I want a 1 inch there, and 3 inch, 3, 4, 5, 6, there. So there's this weird issue I've just come up with, which is just like kind of super annoying. I don't like making big, thick cuts in wood with a jigsaw because the blades tend to wander. I'd rather do it on my bandsaw. However, I have managed to draw this in exactly the way that it is impossible to cut out on my bandsaw. See, if I'm going to cut it out on my bandsaw, it should actually be a mirror image from what I've drawn here, which is, I guess, certainly reasonable for me to just redraw this, because what I want to do is I want to feed this into my bandsaw. See, if I'm feeding from the other side, then I can feed it, I can drill holes in these corners and use those corners to turn the piece on my bandsaw, but I've got to be able to feed it in against the right side of the table, and this is the wrong side. I need this flipped. So I guess I really should redraw it. It's a boring slog, but like, it's going to make this cut primo. And even though this is my first jigsaw, I love this thing. Even with this like brand new Festool blade, I just don't feel confident I'm going to get the same quality of cut that I would out of my bandsaw, and that's for sure. So I'm going to flip it. If I draw it correctly, I should be cutting on these lines from the other side. Who knows? Who knows if that's possible? But let's try it.
So the difference between these two stands is going to be this. This one sits like this, covers over the side of the legs, doesn't even really show you much of the front of the legs. This one will bolt into a stand like this, and you'll be standing here. So as you can see, there's nothing interrupting your ability to see the entire thing. I just have to figure out what this spacing and angle is. That's the trick. And I'm going to mark it out on this. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. My stands are done. I just want to talk about how sturdy they are. I know they're on wheels, so they move a little bit. That's like, you know, I recognize like that can be as much of a liability as it is a benefit, but in this, it absolutely is a benefit. I often talk about information management as a key part of making, and in this, being able to move these around is part of the information management about them. There are gonna need to be times when Brett or Christine needs to work on a part of this, and instead of us like coming in here and grabbing something and taking it apart, just wheeling one of these wherever it needs to go, that is critical. And combine that with the convenience of having these stands, and I just want to show you how strong this is. Like, I've got 4 inches out here, and like there's just, ooh, there's almost no flex. Yeah, it's that is really, that's plenty strong. I know it moves back and forth here a little bit, but it doesn't need to have that much tensile strength. So I'm not even going to worry about that triangulation. Let's put a suit on and try getting into it. Okay, so the difference here is I used to have a clamp, but now what I've got is a little bit of a slot that takes the front piece of the suit. And so I'll show you how it works. You walk into the thing like this, and you line this up on an angle and bring it in. Yeah, it's still some kinks to be worked out here. Yep, there we go, and great. It's in on both sides. So now, look, now I see a spacesuit, right? Now it's a thing, and I can work on a thing. Inside this is like trying to work on a piece of clothing that's in a closet, and you can only look at pictures of it every other day. Okay, I'm actually going to try and get into this. This may be foolhardy, but it's kind of my brand. Okay, it's even, like it stays upright. There's not even any chance it's losing its center of gravity, even when it's all the way open, which is fabulous. And I can put, yeah, that moves that a little bit. All right, well, what could possibly go wrong? Dude. So now I'm standing in it, which would be, I'd be standing in the space boots, and I go and I put my arms into the arms, and I get the straps on, and then I stand up. I lean forward. And then I back out. Look at that! A successful test. Oof. That was good. Hold on. There we go. All right. I feel good about that test. I think it's time for me to call it a day because I'm exhausted. The shop's a mess. I'm going to clean up for about an hour, but I'm very, very pleased. This was mission critical at this point in the build for me to be able to see the whole thing in its totality. Within the construction of the xEMU, I am following a lot of NASA's design guidelines, but there are also many places in which to kind of move and exercise my own aesthetic judgment. That's why I love this project. So while the form factor here is looking great, I notice, and this wasn't necessarily 100% on purpose,
that my backpack is of a lower profile than a lot of the backpacks that NASA, or PLSS, the Portable Life Support System, that's what goes in here. Mine, most of the ones that I'm finding pictures of at NASA come up and over this, and I am not. And that's because I'm thinking of this, and maybe this is the first time in these videos I'm saying this, I'm thinking of this as within a specific narrative. And the narrative is, I'm building a working suit for 5 years from now. That's the goal. So if you were a director and you said, Adam, you're going to be my costume designer for the spacesuits, I would like you to design me a set of spacesuits that would be used on the moon 5 years from now for the moon colony. That's what I'm building here. So yeah, it's going to be filthy. It's totally going to be filthy. I'm going to have some like shop robot lights on it, like this. Yeah. And it's got to have some lights and visor action. It might not be functional visors. That's a whole another can of worms. But at the very least, there will be a light bar up here with some lights and some cameras, because NASA's always put that stuff here. It's not in a lot of pictures of them using the suit in the neutral buoyancy lab pool right now, but that's because they're testing the suit itself, right? So there's all these aspects to the testing that they're doing, wherein the actual suits that they use on the moon will have all these other details. They're going to have pockets in the legs and in the arms for storage of stuff. They're going to have personalizations that astronauts are going to do. These, I'm thinking that like up till now, what we've been doing with landing suits like the Apollo A7L and A7LB has been like one-off exploring, right? You know, a couple dozen people went on the moon with those things. The EMU, the extravehicular mobility unit that NASA currently uses for doing things like fixing, you know, the sky telescopes and launching satellites and repairing parts of the ISS, that is a pretty mature spacesuit. And as such, it has a lot of the pockets and the pieces that working suits have. So I'm thinking about all of that when I'm putting this guy together and how to execute it. That was the longest explanation for just saying, I'm going to do some cardboard mock-ups of a light bar on top of his head. This is my, this is just the template I used for cutting out the helmet nice and flat. I never throw out my templates until the end of a gig. Good. It's getting better. I gotta get everything on here in order to see it. What I'm doing is I'm adding the functionality of lights, but I'm also doing it aesthetically, right? Like this suit has to have it has a point of view. And when I say point of view, what I mean is like something's different and new about it, and I'm still learning about what that's all about. So I found these little lights. I haven't talked about these before. Okay, so when I was thinking about this being a working suit, I was thinking if I'm a supervisor on the moon and I've got 3 or 4 folks out there in these suits doing work in the field, I'm gonna want to be able to look out my window and see who's out there. Just the same way that a shop foreman on a factory floor is going to look at their machines to see how many machines are up and running, and they use lighting systems for doing that. Lighting systems very much like this. And so what I've determined is that the construction color is blue. So I'm going to have this as a blue strobe sitting on, I'm just going to temporarily place it here, sitting on the backpacks so that I am, there you go. So I have to tell you, when I put that on there, and I did that a couple days ago, just alone here, like it nails something important to me about this suit. What is still an open question. That's how this process works. I am following the process, not the plan. But like that, I look at that and I'm like, I get that. I get that. I can see this on the moon. This walking around, boop, 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 boop. That little strobe like an airplane. It's a safety light. So then the question is, astronauts have lights and camera systems mounted to the top of their helmets. Does this fit? Ooh, that's better. I definitely like that. Let me just see if I can't get... Trying to like blur my eyes to kind of see it a little bit better. Sometimes I take a picture of it with my camera so I can look at it. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on this just yet. I thought the shape was going to be simpler, but now I'm seeing that the shape is really going to be interdependent on a host of factors. I don't mind it as it currently stands, and I think it kind of works, but I'm going to need more time to think about it. That's where we're at. That's like why I mock stuff up, so I can kind of look at it. It goes like this. I am not necessarily the kind of designer who can draw something and then build what he draws and have it all work out. It's more like I draw something and I build something close to what I'm drawing, and in doing so I see how wrong I was, and then I adjust from there. So while occasionally I do draw something and build exactly what I draw, which is lovely. My Queen's Bell box absolutely came out exactly like I drew it. That was awesome. This is a level of complexity that is it's going to require a little more sort of touch and go. I think one of the big issues for me is it's got to have the visor, the actual visor protector on the top. And you don't see that in any of the photos right now of the xEMUs because they don't need them. They're not operating outdoors. They're operating, I mean, there are some on the experimental ones they're using out in the desert and outdoors, but yeah, to me, it's like a key part of this. I also, lastly, I didn't cut this dome perfectly symmetrically, so it's a little more bulbous up here than down here. And I'm actually, while I liked that look for how it cradled my head, I must admit that when I take the non-bent dome and I put it in so that it's symmetrical, like that, I look at that and I'm like, that actually works. I like that. So that'll also make it, there's so many little like interesting little factors. In order for a visor to actually hug the surface of this, it needs to be bilaterally symmetrical front to back. It shouldn't be bulbous up top. That's a key aspect, right? So if I don't think I'm going to put a gold visor on it for this build, but you know, never say never. That might be something I put on in the future in order to follow this line. There's also, if I sound a little tired, it's that I'm slightly overwhelmed by the number of decisions to make and like trying to figure out how they all balance with each other. But this is a very, see, now I look at it past there and it's kind of neat looking. How does it terminate into the suit? How does it, yeah, all these are interesting questions. But I like the way the lights look, and I do like this little pyramid thing on top here. So there's another aspect to the physical topography of the suit, and that is the display control module up here. This is where the switches are and a couple of dials. I'm not even sure what the dials are for. For me, I think one of them might be volume inside the suit. And the switches will control actually things within the suit. It'll turn on the lights, it'll turn on the strobe, it'll turn on the comm system in there. But it is a very specific shape. And I think actually I'm going to mock that up too. Do I have a... No, I'm not going to try and follow their exact shape of it. I'm just going to make one out of foam core and pop it on there. And that'll help me sort of see how the suit is coming together. I'm going to need forearms before too long. I'm toying around with the idea. This will get these shoulder bells of cloth. But one thing that I'm toying around with the idea of is making a harness for this. And I know it doesn't quite need a harness because it is itself a hard upper torso, and you can actually see like tie points sticking off of the astronaut suit so they can lift them up and stuff. But I feel like a harness on a working suit makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, this doesn't really have shoulders like a normal suit, so I'll have to think about that. Maybe I'll end up making like a single harness that comes around here and comes up to this and terminates up here or something like that. I don't know. This is why I would never make it as a true art director or production designer in Hollywood. I'm way too... I can't draw well enough. That's it. I can't draw well enough. I have to think like this. I have to think in foam core and 3D. And I would just be like the most excruciatingly, it would take me the most excruciatingly long time to come to like some final designs. All right. This is what's weird about aesthetic problem solving. I'm sitting here and I like put this up here, and it's not like it's not working, but it's not gelling. It's not like, yes, you've taken your next step. It's more like, something's happening. Which is, I don't like that liminal space. So I went over into the corner and I like had a little bit of ginger beer and I was thinking about it. And then Jen Schachter came in and we chatted and we're sitting here and she says, how's it going? And I said, well, I'm trying out this thing. And then, oh, wait a minute. I thought, maybe I need some antennas over there. So I grabbed these two dowels of two different thicknesses and I sharpened their ends so I could jam them into the foam core. And then I stand back and I'm like, that works. Like, that's precisely what I was looking for. I want this thing to feel like a hazmat suit. Like when you look at a picture of a hazmat suit, you don't think, oh, look at all that technology. You think, look at that thing for protecting people, right? That's kind of what I want this to feel like. I don't want it to be like spacesuit. I want it to feel like a working unit. And that, I've been wondering where to put antennas. I've been debating where they go here, if they go somewhere, and I had not considered that they go on the head unit, but they might. So now I think I want to refine this, and maybe I refine it to come in a little bit. I'll have to play around with that. But once I get a profile for this that I like, then I'll have Jen laser cut that. I'll probably bend a aluminum shroud for it using my bender, because that'll be a nice looking unit. These work so well, I'm like continuing to check it because I'm like suspicious how quickly that problem seemed to be solved. But it really, actually, yeah, I just want to see it. That's amazing. It really works. On the back of one of the xEMUs, there's also connectors, like what look like a pair of old Apollo connectors. So I've got some extras, because when you're an obsessive like me, you end up with multiples of everything. These are actually some beautiful anodized aluminum Apollo era connectors built by Chris Gilman at Global Effects, and I bought these on eBay when he was having a big sale a couple years back. But that's gonna look swanky and nice, right? I'm really happy about that. We're getting closer. I still don't think this works. So I'm gonna print up, that's gonna be the next thing. I'm gonna print up some samples of that thing and the control display unit and get it going. Yeah. I'm really happy. I'm really happy. I'm like so happy I'm a little suspicious of my own happiness, as one can tend to be. I'm a little nervous. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you need any. You definitely. Oh, is that a 3/5? Because I was using the Blanco
I actually
standard.
have the star washer on there backwards, it turns out.
That's what I was going to point out. That's what I got. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I literally don't. What is that? A screwdriver? I have no idea what's happening.
Is. Good to see you,
Good
man.
to see you as well.
Yeah, here is the. I know it doesn't look like much.
No, it looks like a lot, but it does look like a work in progress.
It
I'm
is.
seeing lots of wires, lots of cabling,
yeah.
lots of safety straps. I don't know. What is happening here?
Well, you know, in the initial plan, there were all these stages of construction.
Sure.
So there was like hard parts, and then there was wiring and soft part, and then it just turned out that in building it, they were all interconnected. Like I had to wire while I was building, while I was working out soft part patterns, while I was working out, etc.
Okay.
So what you're
so no hardware phase and then to software.
Yeah,
It's got to be all at the same time.
In the outline, it seemed really straightforward, but in the actual practice, it was much more of a kind of hell-bent for leather.
Sure.
But what I can tell you is I'm really happy with how this is going.
Okay. That has a pointy end on it, so I'm just going to pick it up and put it over there, because you never know.
This is the main part of your suit. So
you can
go ahead and
one-hand
lift
that?
it. You can
Yeah.
lift it. It's not that heavy.
No. No. And I'll be honest, it's kind of heavy, but I was just trying to look like a man on camera, because you did that effortlessly with a pinky. But no, it's not that bad.
It's about 15, 18 pounds with the, oh, that's the other part about this that I'm really excited, and we didn't talk about this, which is the bearinged arms.
So the actual suit can do this?
The actual suit can do this. In fact, astronauts have to learn, you can't just raise your arm like this. You literally have to, you have to accommodate for the bearings in order to get the full extension of movement. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got, a little serpent dance.
Well, you don't even have to do it in the abstract.
No, I
you can
guess,
put this
yeah.
on and you can try it on.
Yeah, I would love to.
So the way we're going to do this is similar to how the suit is actually going to be gotten into, which is you're going to step into the middle of this and start lifting this up, and then as I'll help you continue to lift it, you'll slip your arms in there, and then I'll get the backpack straps on you.
Sounds good.
Okay, so now
okay to
it's
go.
going to be uncomfortable for a minute. I'm going to squeeze these past you.
Yep. Understatement of the century.
I know. So we're going to just get you cinched up here. Oh, it's hard to cinch up. Okay, relax into it.
Yep.
Just want to make sure your shoulders are, we're not far off physically, but the geometries. So what I'm going to end up having in here is a couple of different straps that will allow you to adjust where
it
your
sits.
waist, in order to center you inside the waist bearing. The pants will be soft. It took me a while to determine that. I had some shorts that were not going to be comfortable.
Okay.
Actually, I'll show you those. Wait right there. These were going to be your shorts.
That's a chastity device.
Well, it's whatever you want it to be, Kevin.
This was the original.
Yeah, except that it turned out that these were NASA. I got the geometry all wrong. These circles actually come in and are canted down. Yeah, I know. So I'm going to put the backpack on you. Yeah, raise your arm all the way up.
So I was trying to.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then all right, let's if you will step right here.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and get this. All right.
Am I allowed to notice the LED strip lighting around this hole yet?
We will get that going in just a minute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, so B, A. If I get this right, the electrics, and tell me if I'm doing something that's making you incredibly uncomfortable.
No. I'm just concerned because if you get it wrong, am I going to feel electricity surging through my body?
You will not. It's only 12 volts.
Oh, that's fine. What's 12 volts amongst friends? Just take your time. Yeah.
Yep, great. I'm going to pull the stickum off. And I'm going to pop a visor on you. Yep. Ah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel good?
I'm okay to go.
Let's see here. What is number 3? No. 6? No. 4? No. 5? There we go. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't blind you. You can still see outside, right?
Yeah,
And you feel
absolutely.
pretty comfortable.
No, that's really cool.
So the suit is actually drawing from behind the backpack. So right now, if you farted, it would be drawn right in, but you wouldn't smell it because I've got a HEPA filter on there.
I'll have you know I've been testing that since the moment you put this thing on.
How does this feel overall?
Well, it's definitely falling. It's a little back heavy, right?
Yep.
So I'm trying to kind of hunch forward just for the sake of holding it at the moment.
Yep.
Outside of that, the straps on the shoulders are great.
Okay, so the back heavy is, oh, that's interesting. Then let me take this second piece of foam
Sure.
and try
Yeah, if you could,
popping it in here.
that would be awesome to close that
There
gap.
we go. Does that do it a little bit better?
Yeah.
Right. Also,
that
you're
helps
a
a bit.
little offset there. Yeah, you want to get...
Yeah. I can't believe how much progress you've made, Adam.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, it's all interconnected. So I've just been going hell-bent for leather on all the parts of it.
But that's really coming. The fact that you have HEPA filtration built into the suit already blows my mind.
There we go. So the air system is just a pair of computer fans that are drawing up through the bottom through this screen here.
okay.
And distributing them out this manifold.
Now, is there a reason you chose for air intake to be right above the ass crack versus like?
Well, you'll be wearing space pants.
Yeah, but I mean, could it not have?
I didn't want to see it. I can't stand when I see behind the curtain. Like when a mascot, you can see the 2 eye holes for
Right,
the
the
wear
little
of a
vent.
mascot.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
makes
yeah.
me madder.
Okay.
It's just good crazy. So I didn't want to see that.
You know what? That's a fair answer. That's a fair answer.
This blinky light is maybe my favorite part of this suit right now. And it's all because I was thinking, if you're making a working suit, right? There's a distinct look difference between the suits that NASA tests with and the suit they use in space. And the big difference is that in space, they've got pockets for stuff that they need. Mm-hmm. They've got work lights and all these attachments for actually utilizing a suit. But in testing, they're just testing the suit itself. So when I was thinking about what like a moon colony working suit would look like, I was thinking, well, if I'm the supervisor, I'm going to want to look out the window of my habitat and see who's out there. And in order to do that, like in an industrial environment, you put blinking lights on your equipment that tells you about how your equipment's doing. So the construction light is a blinky blue light. And so that's why I put this here. and it strobes blue.
Is this like the head on a cymbal stand?
No,
basically,
this is
or-
actually a light specifically for this purpose. It is a light to tell you how a machine's doing. You buy this to put on your factory machines so the foreman can look out on the floor and tell the
Really?
state of their machines.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I didn't either.
That's. But this piece reminded me of like the kind of hardware you would use.
Yeah, it looks like a hi-hat.
Yeah,
It looks like the attachment of a hi-hat. I actually made the lens from scratch. I actually lathed it out of acrylic, and I want to show it to you. Let me show it to you operating. Hold on. Okay, and then that goes in, and this comes around.
Is all this wiring coming through the front? Because eventually you're going to put like a control box.
Yeah,
or
you're going to
something
have
outside?
a control box with switches out here, and you'll be able to individually operate. There'll be
That's-
work lights on your visor. There'll be this visor
ring
light,
light, yep.
the air, comm system, like I said, an extra channel, and then this should be, oh, no, that's 2, this is 6, that's it.
Ah!
Doesn't that, like, that just says to me someone's working.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just imagine like a bunch of these out on the surface of the moon. That, as soon as I put this on, I have this practice that like when something really important happens in the shop, I often take a picture of it and then I moon over that picture at night at home.
And so that was you
Sort of,
bathing
yeah,
in
I
the
took a
glow
picture and
of
I'm
the
like, oh
blue
my
work
God,
light?
now I understand the suit. Now I get it. This look, that thing, now I have a point of view. Okay, let me see if I can show you something that you'll like. Hang on, let's see. You might have encountered one of these during COVID as a point of purchase little public address system.
Yeah. They have it.
Okay,
in the,
so hold on to that
Okay.
part, and let's
Yeah, I have
plug,
I have
plug that in
performed
the back. if you
baked
would.
transactions with these as well as ordered food.
Okay, let's.
Flip her on.
Yep.
I got
Okay.
power. Aisle 7. Aisle 7. Cleanup is on aisle 7. Thank you.
Will that suffice?
This is going to be amazing. Nerds! Park the ways! My blue light is blinking! I have farted into my space backpack! I smell nothing! I am better than you!
Okay, I think this works great.
Yeah, I think that checks out.
Terrific.
How cool.
Excellent.
This is-
I'm glad we have the public address system. So I know this looks like a terrible thing, but
No,
it
it
really
looks amazing.
will be.
I love that you have it all coming through the single port. We talked about, point of failure
Yes.
earlier, and it's like everything's coming into one control box, one unit, one hole in the suit. Like, I love that.
Well, and actually, it has been very satisfying to work out the wiring and actually to start to to route it through here. This all feels all like muy authentico, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
really,
this is cleaner than any PC build that I've ever done. I normally have like SATA cables dangling everywhere and stuff's getting kicked up into the fan, but this is already at such an early stage, so clean and so nice.
So and here's the PA leg, right? It's just labeled, that's ready for plugging into the PA. The thing is that there are thousands of people around the world currently working on these suits, working on all these different aspects of them, from comms to construction, actively testing them in Johnson's neutral buoyancy lab in the pool. And they're going to watch this and they're going to get a kick out of all the stuff we find uncomfortable. It's all problems they're actively solving.
Right.
And so I love the idea of all that dedication and ingenuity going into something. And we're making a joke, but we're also encountering a lot of the same
pain
things.
points.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think now with adding the control box and the speakers and everything else, how do you think this thing is going to net out in terms of overall weight?
It's not going to be much heavier than it is right now. Your control box is sheet aluminum, so it's going to be, again, I'm favoring for weight everywhere I can. There will be a head unit that's going to look kind of like this, so I can...
And I see some mock-ups for what will be lights.
There will be lights there, and there might be extra functionality. This curve I'm not sure about it. I still have to work out some of those. But it's mostly going to be about this or maybe a couple pounds heavier.
I'm gonna get out of your hair, I promise. But what's with the dual?
So this is a weird feature that wasn't really necessary for me to build in, but I really wanted to, and that is, this is how NASA's visors on these suits actually work. It's very different.
Double layered visors?
Yeah, so the outer one is the protective. This one can get dinged and it doesn't compromise your envelope. And it protects the inner one, and I really wanted to do that. The plywood ring is just that this is iteration 1.0 of the neck ring, because these are amorphous shapes and they're not exact and they're not even symmetrical, so we've been sort of getting our ass kicked by trying to get that working. But doesn't it look great? I
It
love
looks
the dual
really
visor.
cool. Yeah, no, the visual effect is nice, but I didn't realize that was a feature on the real thing. And I love that you built it in, even though you didn't have to.
Well, and I also really enjoy the fact that NASA's no longer making helmets. This is not a helmet, it's just a visor, right?
Sure.
It's literally like the windshield. As opposed to something I put over my head, it's a much simpler procedure. And in the same way we put you in the suit, our visors will be removable.
Oh, cool.
Because it's hard to put on the suit when you're immediately fogging up your visor.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they put their astronauts into the suits in the same way. They have the visor off, they put them in, they snap them in, then they pop the visor on.
I love it. I can't wait to see the progress. I'm going to get out of your way.
All right.
And I'm going to look into some noise canceling stuff. But I mean, I wouldn't rely on me for anything.
That's fine.
I mean,
copy that.
Yeah, the short time
Okay.
you've known me, you know that that's probably true, right? That tracks. Thank you. I'm going to get out of here.
What a pleasure.